10 to 7. Ondale. Hola. Welcome to Playing the Field, the Bachelor podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Field, the sports anchor here at Channel 7 in New York City. Joined now, as always, by our two favorites, Jen Matarese, our Bachelor insider from here at WABC in New York, our Bachelor expert, Gina Sarica from Los Angeles, who happens to be in front of the Bachelor mansion today. Same as it ever was. Gina's back, and we are thankful that she is there to provide us all the Bachelor insider info. We have a special cameo once again from Jesse Palmer this week. So great to talk to him last week on this podcast. Jesse always provides the best insight, and very curious to get his answer on the Karolina drama. We will have that for you here coming up. But as you noticed by my excelente Spanish off the top, we go to Madrid, Spain. Gina's calling me out on that. We go to Madrid, Spain this week. A change of scenery. The ladies are out of the house. And I thought this was a very, very fun episode. I really enjoyed it.
It was. And I love when they hit the road. It's a nice change of pace. I think the women needed a reset before it got way too heavy-handed with the drama. And we certainly get drama again. But, I think it's different.
Dena gets the first one-on-one date, and from Dena to Gina, I really liked their connection, and I thought they were, how we say, adulting very well, talking about partnerships, and I really liked how Dena said that, listen, women can very much help support the family as well, and she felt guilty even him rowing her in the rowboat. She's like, I feel like I should be helping out. Again, ladies, relationships are about a partnership. We have to drive this point home, and I like having the floor on this podcast to say those things because they're a good reminder. But again, I like their chemistry. I thought they were vibing very well. From Dena to Gina, what did you think?
I agree. What I think is interesting is that I feel like Grant feels like he needs to be the provider and let me take care of you and this and that. And I think it's Dena who kind of opened his eyes a little bit to say, like, yes, it can be a partnership. You take care of me, I take care of you. I think it was really enlightening to watch that throughout their date. I thought it was great. I love that he feels that way. You know what I'm saying? I feel like now he's understanding, like, yeah, and here's this woman who is successful in her own right. And, he can, is just as successful as he is. And they can both bring something really special to the relationship and, have it work and work well.
And I thought Grant really took to her because of how she handled herself, particularly answering his questions about that. And she kind of let him know that she was serious about this. She wants a future. She wants to be a wife. She wants to have kids. She wants to help support the family. And I think for Grant, knowing what we know about him being very grounded, raised the right way, very important about his job and being successful. And as Gina said, being a caretaker and provider, I think she hit kind of all the right notes for him, which is why she got the rose.
Yeah, and I think he's in a position where he's under a lot of stress as the Bachelor. He is putting a lot of pressure on himself to be this future perfect husband, perfect father. And I think he was thinking about it being all on him. And I think it was a little refreshing for him to hear, well, wow, someone wants to help me with all of this. And maybe I should think of it that way because, like you said, it's a partnership.
Yeah, and again, Gina, when you only have, we have to remember this, these women may only get 2 one-on-ones, a couple of group dates, an overnight, and then you're getting proposed to. So everything has to be sped up in terms of real-world dating. And I think having these quote-unquote adult conversations like they did is a good thing for both of them here at this juncture.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Grant has said it throughout this season to a couple of the women, where his childhood, growing up, he didn't, his father with the addictions that he had wasn't necessarily like there for the family. And I feel like what he's looking for in his relationship that will lead to marriage will ultimately be like kind of making up for that. He's kind of said, I want to make sure that my wife and my children have like this father figure. And, I feel like he's putting a lot of pressure on himself because of that, which understandable. But this is kind of where, some of these women can open his eyes a little bit and be like, no, we can all do this together.
Yeah.
And, I think it's great to see.
I do too. And as a guy, listen, you're dating now 10 women at once. You're trying to figure things out. And you're trying to figure out who's gonna provide, or who's gonna be a little bit better than the other person, who's gonna be a little bit better of a match for me than someone else, and you don't really have a ton of time to kind of figure that out. And the last thing you want to do is send the wrong person home because you misread a situation or misjudged somebody's character. So I thought Dena being upfront and honest in the way they kind of, had such similar views on big picture things, I think went a long way for both of them in terms of strengthening their relationship. And now to the moment that I have been looking forward to since Jen Tran's season, when she was on the horse. Girl, you look good on that donkey. Those donkeys came out, and I was like, giddy up. Here we go. Here we go. It was such a fun date, and I love how Karolina's donkey was the slowest one. And that is a situation where, listen, friends, you are at the mercy of the animal that you are riding. And if that donkey doesn't want to go any faster, that's just how it goes. And I love that she said he was acting like an ass. I thought that was very well put on her part.
But it also shows him how she handles that.
Yes.
You know, I think all these things are clues for him to see, who do you want to be with? You know, how does this person handle a difficult situation, or a donkey that's going astray or too slow or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I thought that was a nice little moment of levity, and then we get to the mechanical bull, Gina, and I thought that was really the funniest part of this season. Again, my girl Karolina with a quote of the episode, and I wrote this one down to make sure I had her quoted exactly. It's the first time I've ever thought to myself, 6 seconds is long enough. And I thought that was just such a funny way to put it. And Gina is not amused by that, and that shows the level of maturity between her and myself. One of us is laughing at this.
I've got a few years on you, Ryan,
the other one
so
is not.
Okay.
All that to say, I thought it was a nice moment of levity. But listen, I got to give it to Alex, and then Zoe, who basically stole Alex's strategy, not falling off that bull. And I thought it was just kind of fun to watch that whole thing unfold, Gina.
Yeah, no, it was a fun/funny date. I mean, the outfits were, they were hilarious, but I don't think the girls liked him as much. But I think it did make them feel better that he had, his outfit was a little
a different budget, as Karolina paid.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Again, like we are going back to, how you handle a situation. Alex kicked butt.
Yep.
Did great. Zoe came in, stole her idea, which kind of get it, but then also got rewarded for it with time. So, and so I get it, but like Alex didn't go around going, she got the touch. She didn't complain and bitch about it like others.
Well, she did bitch about the fact that Zoe stole her strategy and then in turn got the one-on-one because she, I don't think Alex was thrilled about the fact that she basically copycatted what she did and then did it for a little bit longer and then snuck in some extra one-on-one time.
She didn't
She didn't go on and on about it and yell at her, and talk to the women and do all this other stuff and be, and pull a Karolina and make it all about her. She didn't do that. So it's really all about how you handle it.
Zoe and him had a great one-on-one date at the end of that. And she talks about her struggles growing up in Virginia and why dating has been so tough for her for a variety of reasons. And again, much like Karolina's date in the previous episode, we see Grant become emotional with these women. In this case, it's Zoe. And to me, as a man, when you get emotional with a woman, that means you have feelings for her. So he clearly has feelings for Karolina, and he clearly has feelings for Zoe. And maybe he didn't know it until that very moment. But when he saw her struggling the way that she was, he was there to comfort her, provide her some perspective. And I thought he handled that beautifully.
He did. And it just shows that he's really looking to understand them and find out what makes them tick and all of that. And I also just want to back up to the fact that he brought rocks for Parisa.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
That was sweet.
That was good.
It
It was a nice little moment. But again, that shows to what Jesse spoke about last week. the thoughtfulness that Grant
Yes,
has and the
yeah.
genuineness that he brings to the table. Parisa did not get a rose when it was all said and done. She got sent home, which I felt was 2 episodes too late. But that's just me. I thought the Rock thing was a very nice touch. What did you make of his chemistry with Zoe, Gina?
I mean, it's there. He clearly cares about her. He is. We've talked about it. Jesse talked about it last week. Grant is a very intentional guy. I've always found it interesting that, the way he asks them questions. And, because he's looking for not specific answers, but he's looking for answers and things that are really going to spark something in him.
Right.
So their conversation was great. And their chemistry is good. I mean, we're going to see how it all plays out. I have some questions about Zoe, but also, can't deny the chemistry.
Zoe did get a rose, so she is one of the final 7, which I was maybe a little surprised by that when the top 25 were announced and, opening nights and they're coming out of the limo. I didn't know that she was going to be one of the final 7. At least that's me. Were you surprised that?
No, she's gorgeous.
Okay.
I think she's very smart too. I can't remember what her job was, but yeah, she is.
Yeah, well, listen, after the
and
basketball shenanigans, which we didn't get a chance to ask Jesse about last week, some of the things that she did, I didn't know if he was vibing with her the way that he was with other women.
I don't think he's seeing all the drama that we see with her necessarily.
Right.
So, I mean, he's hearing about it with Karolina, but he's not necessarily in on the whole Zoe drama.
And that brings us to the elephant in the room here, the one that we've been waiting to talk about, and that is the drama with Karolina. And in this case, it's Juliana who says, "Hey, can I have a minute with you?" After Karolina expresses to the ladies that she has had some time with Grant, but still doesn't feel like she really knows him. And I think she is speaking from her real world dating experience and saying, gosh, an engagement could be just around the corner. I've had a great date with this guy to Vegas, but I really don't feel like I know the guy. And I think she's internally freaking out about that, but maybe delivering it the wrong way to the women who are in turn taking it wrong. And here we go to our voice of reason, Miss Gina. Did you have a problem with Juliana pulling her aside and expressing really how the other ladies are feeling in the house?
No, because I think that, if we go with your theory that she doesn't realize how she's coming off, Juliana was telling her.
Right.
And so, if she takes that in another way, which shocking, she did, then that just goes to show you more about Karolina. Juliana was just saying, hey, listen, just so you know, like, it seems to us like you're feeling ungrateful and unappreciative of this opportunity. Look, none of us, nobody there, is expecting, like, we are all under the same guise of, like, we know this is how this show works. You get one-on-one time. It isn't a traditional, real relationship. It is accelerated in a way that is unlike anything else. And they all know this when they sign on the dotted line to come on the show. So for Karolina to be going, yeah, this, that, and the other, it makes her seem unappreciative. And I got where Juliana was coming from, because it does make her feel like, oh, well, why should he be going on other one-on-one dates when he had this one with me? And it's like, no, because he needs to get to know the other girls too.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that part. I do think Karolina, and we disagree on this, the three of us. I do think Karolina is very genuine, and I do think she is here for the right reasons and has the right intentions. You guys agree with that part. I think she's misunderstood. I think she almost has like word vomit where she shouldn't say the things that she says. And this goes back to a classic line that we all need to remember in life. You need to read the room. You need to read the room before you say anything. And she does a bad job of that. And I think now she finds herself in this precarious position because of it. And this brings us to our guest from last week, Jesse. I asked him if he felt Karolina is genuine or just misunderstood, and kind of about this whole drama in the house now surrounding Karolina. And here's what he had to say. The three of us kind of want to know, is Karolina just misunderstood because she's being honest about she doesn't really have she doesn't know how she feels about Grant yet, but, the women are kind of taking it the wrong way, that she's not appreciative of the time that she's had. You've been a contestant. Is she misunderstood? Are the women being overly dramatic? What's your take on that?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier. I thought a lot about that this week, actually, myself. And I just think it's very gray. I really do. I think Carolina is experiencing emotions that I think so many different cast members have felt in the past. You go on an amazing one-on-one date to Vegas, you get swept off your feet, and you're the center of attention in Grant's eyes, and literally the next day. He's on another date and he's got to focus on other women. And I think she really, really struggled with that. I think she's allowed to struggle with that. I think it's totally, it's valid that she has those emotions. Um, Obviously she knows what show she signed up to be on. She understands how this works and the format of it all. Um, Also, I think airing that out and sharing those feelings with some of the other women, I think was off-putting for some of them because, as they had mentioned, a lot of these women would kill to have one-on-one time with Grant and to have some of those opportunities. And sometimes I think when she's explaining her emotions, I think it comes across as if she's complaining. I personally don't think that's really what she feels. I think she's trying to explain herself, but I think it comes off sometimes as if she's unappreciative. That's my personal opinion on that.
So that was Jesse's answer to that question, and I agree with him. It's kind of, you can see it from both sides. I can see why the ladies are frustrated. It's almost like the message kind of got lost in translation, to borrow another saying, when Karolina is telling them, because it almost seems like she's complaining, but in essence, in my opinion, I think she's just expressing her inner fears about the situation, knowing that an engagement could be around the corner, and she wants to know him better. No, that does not give her an excuse to monopolize more of his time, but I think that's where she's coming from.
I do worry that she's kind of too negative right now with this situation. Like, she should be excited and like kind of falling in love and ooey gooey over this guy. And I don't know. It's not there. It's something like she's able to be in the moment with him when she's with him.
Yeah.
But as soon as she's out of that situation, it's negative, negative, negative.
She's
So
definitely in her own head, a la our boy Devin from Jen's season, who definitely spiraled on his own and just kind of things just, fell off the tracks for him in a hurry, and we all know how that ended up. All of a sudden, we get the woman, Gina, that I think a lot of us forgot about, Sarafina. She had kind of been in the background, and all of a sudden, she gets the last one-on-one date. We should point out in that group date that there was no rose given out at the end of the night. Grant was like, I need to think about things. I'm out. Sarafina now becomes, after that kind of chaotic night, Gina, she's like this breath of fresh air, and they jump off the bridge together, and I really liked their chemistry as well.
Same here, and it's somebody that, like, there's always someone that you kind of like is like the dark horse. You know what I mean? Where you don't see that there's this chemistry, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like Sarafina for me. I love the fact that, first of all, Grant, I appreciate you, man, because in these last two episodes, we've seen dates where he's had to, like, fly off of like a building and then a bridge, and then this one in the rain, and like, sorry, no, like he was afraid of heights.
A real trooper.
And
he really is.
And like, same, I felt a kinship with him there, because every time there is one of those dates, I immediately want to turn off the TV. But Sarafina, like, yeah, sure, it's in the rain. Sure, it might be a little scarier. No big deal. Here we go. And she did it, and they had a great time, and she calmed him, and they had a great moment. I'm really happy for her. I'm glad she got that moment.
She was unusually calm given the circumstances, and I think it almost kind of shook Grant up a little bit. Like, wait, why is she not even the least bit scared?
Yeah.
It is pouring rain, and
we're jumping off a bridge.
Hello.
She was determined. She's like, I'm going to do this. We're going to have a great time, and this is the way the day is going to go.
And I think he learned a lot about her in that moment, and then they have that great dinner, and then one of the lighter, more funnier moments that we've seen this season about the kiss, and no, my mom is watching, keeping it real.
I love that.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
I love that we actually see someone acknowledge that, because, I mean, I've always thought that. I'm like, how can they do this with their whole family
watching? Right, exactly.
So awkward. I mean, I guess you just put it from your mind, but it's kind of refreshing to know that at least someone considers it a little bit.
It was the most real moment
Yes,
we
absolutely.
have seen on this reality show in a long time. Like, I get it. And good on her for saying it.
Good on her, and she got the rose, and I thought Grant summed it up perfectly, and I think you'll both agree, when he called her kind of a slow burn.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to heat up, that slow burn, and she is maybe, as Gina put it, a dark horse in this whole thing when it's all said and done.
Yeah. I mean, I think when she was having a little bit of drama with Zoe before, I kind of had discounted her a little bit. I'm like, oh, she's going to maybe fall by the wayside. She's just a group date girl or something like that, but here she is one-on-one getting the rose, making a great connection.
And speaking of Rose, that brings us to the final night drama. And we have to talk about Juliana here because Juliana, kind of like Rose last week, I did not like how Juliana handled that with with Grant, how Juliana said that she's not here for the right reasons, da-da-da-da-da. She definitely fabricated a lot of that in terms of making Grant have second thoughts about how she feels about him. And if she said she came back from the date in Vegas and didn't seem like she had fun and wasn't appreciative of it. I didn't think that was the case at all. I really didn't.
I kind of agree a little bit. I
disagree.
I think that from Juliana's perspective and the way they all were kind of feeling watching all that, I think that was her truth. Like,
okay, this also goes to this truth, and that what we talked to Jesse about last week. The woman was spending more time talking about somebody else than talking about her own.
It's a cardinal sin in this.
It's the cardinal sin, one of the 10 commandments, as Jesse said.
To be fair, though, Grant wanted to know.
He did.
So he asked.
She could have pivoted. She could have said, listen, it doesn't matter about what she thinks. Here's what I think about you. And why couldn't she have just said that?
Well, eventually she turned it into a kiss, so I guess it worked out, you know. She didn't leave it in the friend zone.
And we saw she gets the Cinderella date next week. So what do I know? I guess it all worked out. But all that to say
about it, though, I'm sorry to bring it back. I think last week didn't Karolina say something about how she almost wished she didn't have the one-on-one date?
Yes.
And that I think is why Juliana and the other girls felt that way. So it's understandable why she would be like, girl, why do you not appreciate, like, we would all kill for that time.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm sorry, like, I'm going to stand on my own here and just say, I feel like she was justified in saying what she said to Karolina. And then when Grant asked her, I feel like she said the right thing. Like, it feels to us that, like, she's not appreciative of what's going on. She got this time. We all would want it.
I felt like it was a little exaggerated, but it is what it is. And we have Rose now leaves the show. And they
did her dirty.
You did me dirty. I was like, wow, how about that?
You know,
she left the show, and I think here's what I think, and you ladies can agree or disagree, and we're running a little short on time here, but we got to get through this. I think that she was kind of doing the old kind of like bait and switch reverse psychology thing with Grant, saying, well, I think I'm going to go, hoping that he was going to be like, no, I think you should stay. And then he's like, well, you do whatever you got to do.
He's like, okay, bye.
Yeah, he's like, see you later. Like, it saved him, Gina. It saved him having to go through the process of not picking her. So I think he was relieved when it was all said and done.
It's possible. I mean, it felt like it was bringing, harkening back to Maria from Joey's season where she was like, oh, maybe I'll just go after all this drama. And then he kind of did the same thing, and then she decided she was going to stay. For Rose, maybe it just wasn't worth it.
I guess not.
To deal with all of this.
Rose is out, so too is Parisa and Natalie, and just like that, we're down to 7. How did that happen? Like the blink of an eye, we went from 25 to 7.
I know, and that's what's going to be on the hometowns.
Yeah, hometowns are right around the corner, and there's a lot of drama still yet to unpack this season, and we can't wait. And if you like our podcast, what do you need to do?
Like and follow us.
Like and follow us. We're playing the field. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you again next week.